The following podcast is an exclusive presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Hey folks, Brian Keene here. You know, summer's over. We're entering the fall and then the winter. Halloween's coming up, Thanksgiving, and then of course the holiday shopping season. Speaking of the holiday shopping season, let me tell you about subculturecorsets.com. They've got everything you need for everyone on your list for this holiday season. Clothing, accessories, gifts, books, you name it. They've got it. They sponsor every show on the Project Entertainment Network, including this one. So please give them your business. Visit subculturecorsets.com.
Project Entertainment Network presents My Favorite Story, an anthology featuring short fiction written by the hosts of the Project Entertainment Network podcasts, with
Mary Sangiovanni and Brian Keene from The Horror Show,
Chuck Border, Aaron Sweet, El Mahore, and Armand Rosamilia of the Mando Method,
Jeannie Engel of Origins,
Bizung's Mr. Frank,
Tom Clark from Necrocast, It On,
It Cooks, Amber Fallon,
Three Guys with Beards, Christopher Golden, Jim Moore and Jonathan Maybury,
The Buttercup of Doom, Kelly Owen,
Matters of Faith's Jay Wilburn,
John Urbancic of Eight Stains.
My Favorite Story, a podcast author anthology from Project Entertainment Network, available on Kindle, Nook, and soon in paperback from the Project Entertainment Network store.
In a world where podcasts lurk around every corner,
listen, we just have to give the people what they want. Get it together.
authors Tim Meyer and Chad Scanlon invite you to an hour of sophisticated conversation.
I just want to rip your head off for even saying that.
Dude, I am just saying what you're thinking.
From movies and TV to special guests, you name it, they've got it.
I'd rather gouge my eyes out than watch that movie ever again.
That's one of the finest movies of our generation.
How are you both married?
Join them every Wednesday exclusively from the Project Entertainment Network.
There shall come a podcast like no other. Defenders Dialogue with Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Marvel Comics' original superhero non-team convenes once again. The Incredible Hulk, the Savage Submariner, the Master of the Mystic Arts, Doctor Strange, and a dynamic supporting cast of Marvel superheroes battle against evil as the Defenders. Without further ado, true believers, here's your hosts, Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Excelsior!
And welcome back, true believers, once again to Defenders Dialogue. I'm Brian Keene.
And I am Christopher Golden. And Brian, I always say Excelsior.
Excelsior, true believers.
I feel like we need to reach out to other former members of the bullpen from that era, even just to get them to like record little loops to say Excelsior, true believers for us.
I think that's a really neat idea.
It was a problem we should have had Edelman do it, but we'll get Scott to come on for 2 seconds and record it.
We can do that. We're going to have Keith Giffen on a few weeks from now. Maybe we could, if we pay him money, maybe we could get him to do it as well.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I don't think that violates his exclusive contract with DC Comics.
I suspect it doesn't. We will have him not mention Marvel in the loop that he...
he can't say "make mine Marvel."
Yeah, exactly. Natch. So this, we're going to try to do a couple of shorter episodes, folks. We need to sort of catch up on a couple of things, and I think it's actually a good time to do that because we're in the middle of some really interesting and weird times with the Defenders.
We are.
Unlike what would normally happen, we're actually beginning this episode with Defenders number 50, which sort of completes the war against the Zodiac. And I'm not in. We didn't do this last week, right?
No. Issue number 50?
Yeah.
I thought we did, but then you said we didn't. It shows how invested neither of us are in the Scorpio saga that we can't remember.
Well, it was over a week ago. I'm looking to see if we got to the end of issue 50. That's
I'll tell you what. While you're looking, let me explain to the audience what's going on. No, Chris and I did not get into some marijuana edibles. What has happened is we're both 50. We're both under incredible deadline strain right now. I have a pilot due within 2 weeks, and I've written exactly one sentence of this pilot. And I called Chris in a panic, and I said, we've got to do shorter episodes for the next couple weeks so I can get caught up. So I've done that, but now this is turning into a long episode with that explanation. Have I stalled long enough? Have you figured out if we did?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, because I've basically read this issue twice in the last week and a half, and now I flipped through it a third time, I'm 99% sure that we did go through issue 50, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's quickly just recap where we were as of issue 50, which has a few things going for it.
I can sum up issue 50 in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the Defenders, if you'll remember, our current lineup of the Defenders, the only original member left is the Hulk, along with Valkyrie, Nighthawk, Moon Knight, and the happy-go-lucky Hellcat. And, of course, my favorite, Jack Norris. They are facing off against Scorpio and his newly reborn Zodiac. Scorpio, as you'll remember, likes to whine and bitch and complain.
Right. And, in fact, in this issue, actually cries, and you could see the tears coming through the whole eye holes in his mask.
Right. He is the brother of Nick Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he has a robot duplicate of his brother that he confides in. Anyway, he's captured Jack Norris. The Defenders show up to finish him off. He traps Moon Knight in a pit of water and gives him a beer.
Yeah, but funnily enough, that was actually issue 49. So
right.
Let's just say with issue 50, there are only a few things I want to mention just in case we didn't, because I'm not sure we did. Issue 50, basically...
There's a big fight.
Issue 50 is the big fight where Scorpio is forced to release the members of the Zodiac too early, and some of them are not completely cooked, basically. It also contains a fantastic double-page spread of the Defenders plus Moon Knight in action by Giffen. It's a great double-page spread.
Absolutely.
It also contains, Brian, a classic element of the era, which is a page that is a sort of diagram of the Riding Academy on Long Island.
Right.
The quote-unquote, the Defenders Long Island Hangout, otherwise known as their non-headquarters. And around that page are the headshots of everyone who has thus far been a Defender. And I want to note, Brian, for you, that includes Howard the Duck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He is included in that.
On the left, the complete Defenders lineup. Howard the Duck, the Son of Satan, Submariner, Silver Surfer, Luke Cage, Hulk, Yellow Jacket, a.k.a. Ant-Man, Valkyrie, Nighthawk, Hellcat, Moon Knight, Red Guardian, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Hawkeye, and the ever-loving blue-eyed thing.
In any case, that to me was the best part of the issue. So there is a big fight.
The only other thing the readers need to know, in case we did already cover this, after the big fight, after Scorpio has basically talked everyone almost to death, some of his newly born Zodiac refuse to fight the Defenders. In fact, some of them end up rooting for the Defenders.
Right.
And Scorpio shoots himself as Moon Knight and Jack Norris close in on him, shoots himself in the head, commits suicide. And that is basically Defenders 50 in a nutshell.
Yeah, that was pretty sad stuff. That was pretty sad, but it made me think, and something else did too, about our good friend Tom Snogoski, and how there was a guy who I guess was one of the fellow patrons at the comic shop that Tom has frequented for the last 30 years or 35 years or whatever it's been. And this guy would help out at shows. He would help the retailer at shows selling comics. Right. And let's say this guy was perhaps not the guy you wanted to help sell comics at your show, at your booth.
Oh yes, you've mentioned him on this show before.
Have I? Because he would
Yes,
say, "Oh, the Spectra! You should buy that. You don't have the Spectra. You should shoot yourself. You don't have the Spectra. You should shoot yourself." By the way, folks, just in case you're unaware, I know that it's not pronounced the Spectra. He was referring to the DC character, the Spectre. In any case, I got to that Scorpio scene, and all I could think about was that. And then there's a sign off on the final episode, the final issue that I read recently, that basically might as well have been written by that guy. Like, if you don't come back next issue, and I really literally should have said you should shoot yourself. But in any case,
you know what is interesting about this? Now, neither one of us were really fond of the Scorpio saga. But it is very telling. You know, this was a 1970s era Marvel comic where you could still have a supervillain commit suicide, shooting himself in the head. I mean, you know, it was not long after this that we had a superhero, Jean Grey of the X-Men, commit suicide. I don't think you could get away with that now in modern comics.
Right. Well, not without being very careful.
Yeah.
You know, interesting. I mean, yeah, it is an interesting element of the comics of that era, and interesting too that, you know, for all of his flaws in the early part of his run, you know, David Kraft was trying to do something, and it resonated quite a bit with readers. If you read the letters pages of these issues, you know, there were a lot of readers who really embraced what he was doing and loved the you know, the sort of, well, what we would consider the overwritten material was not overwritten to their, you know, eyes and not to the era. Right. So it's just, we look back at it now and it seems overwrought, you know. In any case, issue 51 is written by Kraft with pencils by, Brian, what appears to be a fill-in artist, also named Keith Giffen, but Giffin. So
yeah, I didn't notice that until now.
I'm not sure if that's a you know, somebody joking. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, it's a mistake. But I read that and I was like, really? You can't get the name of the artist right? It's not his first issue either.
No, it's not.
So, and inked by Klaus Janson. Now, here's what I want to say about these next X number of issues that we're going to cover here. Kraft is definitely getting better. But one of the other things that's happening is that Kraft is becoming a better writer. The stuff is not as overwrought as it was. But he also, as you can see in these issues, was a very busy writer.
Yes.
And what happens at a certain point is that we have a stretch of issues that have backups. And he also says in the letters pages in some that he's had a whole bunch of other friends of his come in and write or dialogue portions of the issues that he's written.
Absolutely. And you can tell those parts.
Right. So he's definitely overwhelmed at this point. So in any case, around with the ringer, Brian.
Perhaps the most underwhelming supervillain in Marvel Comics' vast intellectual property library.
Yes. So the less said about this issue, this is going to be a very quick episode. The less said about this issue, the better. The good thing about it is it begins with Nick Fury interrogating the Nick Fury LMD.
That's right.
And we find out that Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., the real Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., presumably, have shown up in the aftermath of the Scorpio saga. And it's a big cleanup of all the disaster that's been left behind, and the Zodiac and Scorpio. And the best part about it is Hulk's little soliloquy up in the corner of this page, where he says, Birdnose stops Hornhead from sneaking up on Hulk, then ignores Hulk, talks to stupid Moon Man instead. Hulk wants to have fun. No one listens. Hulk wants to do more things than smashing. No one listens. No one ever listens to Hulk.
And yeah, there's a bro. Hulk's right though. I mean, Nighthawk is his friend, and now there's this sort of bromance between Moon Knight and Nighthawk going on, and I think Hulk is a little jealous. He's feeling a little left out. We do find out how Moon Knight escaped drowning in that pit. It was the can of beer.
Yes, which we discussed. Yeah. Moon Knight reveals his secret, his Houdini-like secret is revealed to Nighthawk.
He says, I took the can of beer he offered, drained it, and used controlled breathing and the extra oxygen trapped inside the can until the drain valve opened and I could escape.
And then he pats himself on the back by saying, pretty clever, eh? Oh, God help us. All right, then we quickly cut to the countryside in Russia somewhere, in the Soviet Union somewhere. And
just outside of Moscow, it tells us.
Oh, there you go. And Dr. Tanya Belinsky, a.k.a. Red Guardian, is being chauffeured through this countryside by a mysterious bald dude who we come to find out is not, in fact, taking her to the KGB. He's taking her to see someone called Sergei. And then that's what we come back to New York, Brian. And this becomes both the best part of the issue and the introduction to something that annoys the shit out of me, which we'll talk about.
Well, I agree.
Go ahead.
Valkyrie and Nighthawk are in Kyle's limo, and Kyle has convinced her to go back to college. Because remember, Valkyrie is inhabiting the body of Barbara Norris. Barbara Norris was a college student back when she first encountered the Defenders way, way back in issue 3 or 4 or whatever it was. So she's going to go back to college. And what we have here are several pages of Valkyrie versus the bureaucracy.
And these are actually really entertaining pages.
They are. I mean, if you've ever applied for college, if you've ever stood in line at the DMV, if you've ever visited a VA hospital, if you've ever had to deal with government or academic or institutional bureaucracy, you'll recognize this. And it's delightful to see this Asgardian warrior woman who suffers no fools and no bullshit, right, having to go through all this.
Dealing with hours of growing frustration. It's great. And then when she's done with this, she's finally finished everything. She takes it to this old woman who's the gatekeeper for all the paperwork she's done. And the woman says, "This is all wrong. You were not paying attention. You shall have to get new forms." And she rips them up. And Valkyrie storms away after smashing her desk and says, "Be thankful, hag, that you are a woman." And then in her thought bubble says, "But you, Kyle Richmond, are not." So that to me is the best part of what's happening here. And Brian, the actual fight that is referred to in the opening is the least interesting thing.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we'll cover it for continuity's sake.
Yeah, Nighthawk fights.
Speaking of Kyle Richmond, who Valkyrie is now extremely pissed at for convincing her to go back to college, he arrives at his building, Richmond Enterprises, in downtown Manhattan, and finds Lieutenant Chris Keating. You guys will remember him from Defenders issue 45 and 46. He's the cop that deals with supervillains. He informs Kyle that there's another supervillain inside smashing up the building, which seems to happen a lot to poor Nighthawk. Nighthawk goes inside, and it's this 2-bit villain named the Ringer. The less time spent on him, the better.
I mean, 2-bit is even generous. I mean, the one of the lamest villains in Marvel history.
Yeah.
Let's not even. So anyway, we go back to the Riding Academy, where we find that Jack Norris has arrived and found Patsy Walker in the middle of, I don't know what Patsy's doing, being bored as hell. She looks like she's been cleaning something up. I'm trying to see. Oh no, the coffee pot. That's what it was. She was trying to make coffee, and the coffee pot basically exploded all over her.
Right.
And then Jack walks in, and Patsy's very happy with the interruption.
Right. And, she's her flirtatious self as she was written back then. She's immediately hanging on him. She name drops that, Valkyrie's at college. And then she tells Jack she's going to take him outside for, quote, a nice long lover's walk and have a talk with him about his life.
Mm-hmm. And then she proceeds to do that.
Right.
I'm skipping over there's more fight between Nighthawk and the Ringer, which we don't care about.
There's 2 pages of the Ringer fighting Nighthawk, which we just didn't even comment on.
Right.
But basically, in a nutshell, she convinces Jack that, you got to let Valkyrie go. She's not Barbara, who he fell in love with. And Jack admits that, his experience being held prisoner by Scorpio has changed him. He says, since then, I've thought about how empty dreams are born of desperation. Scorpio's madness gave him a certain lucidity and direction, but in the end, he lost everything, even his individuality. I've lost Barbara. Now I'm even more afraid of losing myself.
Right. Yeah, which is actually, again, we follow Jack. He's an interesting character. He learned something from that experience with Scorpio. This guy's Jack's probably not thinking he's a nutcase, but he's like, look, Scorpio's a nutcase, and he's following this thing that's an empty dream. And to him, he realizes now that Barbara Norris, a.k.a. Valkyrie, is an empty dream.
Right.
Then we get the title highlight of the issue.
It's like David Anthony Kraft thought, oh, yeah, that's right, Hulk is a defender. And he has Giffen draw 2 panels, and literally all it is Hulk smashing some cops and then stealing hot dogs from a street vendor. That's it.
Hulk is hungry. Man is not mad at Hulk for eating his food, is man? And the sweating hot dog vendor crouched behind his wagon says, mad? Me? Never! All right, now we get to the moment in this that I think is where I'm going to hold a grudge against David Kraft until I stop caring about comics entirely.
Now, Marvel, they have this vast library of characters and creations, many of whom are wonderful, many of whom are as every bit modern mythology as the Greek myths were. But they've also got some duds. Never has there been a more annoying Marvel Comics character than the one we are about to introduce.
More annoying, more useless, more extraneous. I mean, it's like David Kraft thought, you know what this book is missing? This book is missing Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Only, what if I had Shaggy and he was older and kind of a creeper? And,
kind of a creeper?
Yeah, older and a creeper and self-indulgent. It's like Shaggy and a grown-up Richie Rich.
No, it's better than that.
And Max Landis? He's fucking Max Landis, okay? Who's been accused of sexual assault and sexual harassment by multiple women, but I'm not going to say more importantly because I was being funny, but now I'm not going to be funny. But in addition to that, accused of being an enormous cock, not having an enormous cock, but being an enormous cock by like everyone apparently who's ever encountered him in the business. So,
well, and keep in mind, this is the 1970s. Now, we've seen some, I don't want to say misogynistic, but certainly some sexist dialogue from Nighthawk, from Submariner, from Doctor Strange, from the good guys, okay? The fact that this character we're about to introduce you to comes off as such a fucking creeper compared to that.
Yeah, no,
tells you how bad he is.
Yeah, and anyway, the character is Dollar Bill. Anyway,
Valkyrie is sitting in a coffee shop at the college campus. She's still stewing about her failed fight against the bureaucracy. She's still mad at Nighthawk. And then this guy with a neck beard and sunglasses, and
who walks in and says,
"Fabulous furry freak brothers shirt and a vest," comes up and, "Hey there, lost and lonely, freeze frame," and he makes a camera sign with his hands.
Be cool, don't have a cardiac arrest, it's only me, Dollar Bill. That's my name. Cute name, huh?
You don't mind if I take a seat, do you? And before Valkyrie can even respond, he says, "Thanks." He sits down. He tells her, "You're a very mature-looking woman for these campus parts, ma'am." Valkyrie says, "Mature?" He says, "No offense. Mature women really turn me on. They really do."
Oh, my God.
What the fuck?
In any case...
We then meet his sidekick, his unwitting sidekick, a skinny beanpole of a man named Ledge, who exists basically. Now later on, he will have some importance in the series, but right now he exists basically to be a foil for Dollar Bill trying to get inside Valkyrie's pants.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, Dollar Bill is a character no one wanted.
Nope.
So Ledge is a character who's the sidekick to the character no one wants. Although Ledge doesn't really bother me. Ledge basically is there to kind of point out to readers, hey, isn't Dollar Bill kind of a creep?
Well, exactly. And like I said, without spoilers, Ledge has a fairly big role to play later on.
Yeah.
But then we get to a page and Nighthawk is beating the ringer. Yay. And then we come back to Valkyrie and Dollar Bill and Ledge, and they're on their way to the movies. Because Valkyrie, remember, she's new here on the planet. She's hung out with the Defenders. She's played with Hulk's baby deer, and she's ridden around on her winged horse.
Yep.
She's been to prison. Now she's been to college, but she still hasn't been to a movie theater. So they're taking her to the movies, and as they're walking down the sidewalk, you see a litter bug who drops his candy wrapper on the ground and is immediately clobbered by some mysterious figure carrying some kind of truncheon.
There you go. And and then we find out, coming next issue, the mystery of Lunatik.
Yes, Lunatik is of course the shadowed figure.
Yes, Lunatik with a K, folks. And the return of Prince Namor, the Submariner. Anyway, we get more than that. Brian, before we continue, just really quickly, I want to point out the back cover of this issue contains a movie ad that ran on the back covers of thousands of Marvel comics.
It's got to be the 1976 remake of King Kong. Am I right?
It is not.
No,
it is not. It is Dino De Laurentiis presents Orca, starring Richard Harris and Charlotte Rampling.
I remember that ad very well.
Oh yeah, opening in July at a theater near you. That ad was on so many damn comics. And I've seen that movie more than once.
I remember seeing that ad and thinking, oh wow, it must be like Jaws. And it was the 70s. You didn't even have video stores yet, let alone on demand. So I had to wait until they showed it on ABC, I think, and I watched Orca, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah. I bought and read the tie-in novel before, or maybe the novel was original. I don't remember if it was original or it was a tie-in, but I read it prior to the movie coming out.
Yeah.
So the book is better than the movie, just FYI. In any case, issue 52, The Defenders returns Namor the Submariner to the ranks.
That's right. One of the OG Defenders.
One of the OG Defenders. Written by Kraft and illustrated by Keith Giffen and Chick Stone.
Now, without sounding like a dick, I have to say here, I am not happy with Chick Stone's collaboration with Keith Giffen. I know Keith's art. Keith's not just a friend. I'm a fanboy. I'm a fan of his art. I don't like Chick Stone finishing his pencils here. I think things go very off kilter, and I wasn't crazy about the art in this issue. But before we get Okay, we open with Namor striding down the street in Manhattan in all of his. Remember, Namor's not just a defender; he's the king of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in all his glory. He's got his royal robe and his staff. Now, remember, folks, Namor hasn't been with the Defenders in some time. When he was with them, they were all still a bunch of assholes. It was him and Strange and Nighthawk and Valkyrie not even Nighthawk.
Not even Nighthawk.
Yeah, it was
Silver
him,
Surfer.
Strange, Surfer, Valkyrie, and Hulk. And Valkyrie had started to kind of tame them, but they were all still arrogant pricks. So this is arrogant Prince Namor that we see striding down the street.
Well, not only that, let me just say, so just to set up what's really going on here. Okay, so Atlantis is in crisis, and Namor needs help to try to figure out to help Atlantis. We're going to talk about the crisis at Atlantis a lot over this and the next episode. But Atlantis is in crisis, and Namor decides he needs to see Reed Richards. Namor can fly.
Right.
He also has access to, unheard of technologies. He could easily have reached the Baxter Building without drawing any attention to himself. Instead, he's walking down the middle of one of the busiest thoroughfares in New York City with his trident and his cape at what apparently appears to be a stately pace, surrounded by police who are trying to keep the crowd away from him. So he's doing this for no reason that we can tell.
Right.
And then Hulk sees him, and Hulk sees that he's being sort of harassed.
Right, because there's crowds of people shouting at Namor. Half of them want his autograph, the other half want to kill him.
Right.
And Hulk, remember, this is a kindler, gentler Hulk who has been tamed through his friendship with Valkyrie and Nighthawk and the rest of the Defenders. He says, Fishman is Hulk's friend. Maybe humans plan to attack Hulk's friend, but Hulk won't let them. So Hulk lands in front of Namor and says, Hulk came to help friend Fishman.
Mm-hmm.
And what does Namor do? He reverts to type. He shoves him out of the way and says, Hulk, I have no time for your childishness. Stand aside.
And then Hulk, of course, says, no one pushes Hulk, not even Fishman. And he smashes him across the street. Now, Namor got what was coming to him. I mean, I'm sorry, Hulk is just trying to help you out. He's being a good bro, and you just bash him in the face. And that is not okay. So then, once Hulk starts to fight him back, Namor's like, no, Hulk, you don't understand. No, sorry, man, that you totally, he deserves a real trouncing here.
He really does.
In any case, we
go back to Russia again.
Go ahead.
I got to tell you in advance, I'm not a fan of where this story leads Red Guardian. I wasn't a fan of it when I was a kid, and rereading as an adult, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like her story arc here.
Well, I'm happy to speed through it because the interesting thing to me is I like where it ends, but I think how we get there is so boring.
It is. So basically, we're in this vast underground complex beneath Russia, and Red Guardian is being taken to meet Codename Sergei. He is the most powerful man in Soviet Russia. He is the power behind the power. When he speaks, Comrade Brezhnev quakes.
You're already giving it more time than we should.
Basically, he's doing some kind of nuclear experiments with nuclear radiation.
And that nuclear radiation, folks, is the reason why Atlantis is in jeopardy. So this is how the two things tie together.
Right. The radiation is impacting the seabed. It's impacting Atlantis. And so now the Red Guardian is meeting the source of this radiation. And they basically take over her mind. She's mind controlled. And she's taken to meet Codename Sergei, who tells her that he has an incurable disease of the body. And Red Guardian apparently has an incurable disease of the mind, which I don't remember ever being mentioned in the Defenders.
Oh no, he's being cute. He's being metaphorical. her desire for people to have sort of freedom of choice and not be oppressed is the incurable disease I believe that he's referring to.
That went right over my head.
And in fact, basically his intention is to use this nuclear power and radiation and his experiments to make them essentially atomic powered, live forever, and for her to be his like slave/wife for all eternity. That's the basic gist.
They will be, quote, transformed into beings of a higher form in a nuclear explosion that will tear half of Europe apart.
Yeah. Yep. So, we go back to the ongoing fight between Hulk and Namor. We go to the offices of Kyle Richmond when Patsy Walker sort of bursts in. And insists on a private tour of the office, mainly so that when word comes over the radio of the Submariner and Hulk clashing in Chelsea in New York, that they're together so they can run off to be defenders. We get back to the battle between Hulk and Namor. And there's some fun stuff in this,
There's a lot of fun dialogue. Yeah. There's a lot of fun dialogue between the two of them. And David Anthony Kraft, unlike many Marvel writers, remembers that Submariner has a power that is seldom used in the comics. He can conduct electric current through his body and direct it at an opponent. He does this to Hulk, and Hulk responds with, "Hulk thinks your power is stupid."
Yeah, that was my favorite bit. Hulk thinks your power is stupid. Now, I'll have to try to keep an eye out for it because we keep talking about how 70s Hulk talks like Trump, and there's a perfect example in one of these issues. I'll keep watching for it. In any case, the fight continues. Hellcat and Nighthawk arrive to attempt. We do see, by the way, Spider-Man, Peter Parker in the background, unable to reach them to try to interfere. The crowd is in the way.
Jarvis, the Avengers' loyal butler, who is fretting because all of the Avengers are occupied elsewhere.
Right. And then an empty Baxter building. So in other words, Namor would have been shit out of luck anyway had he made it to the Baxter building. Anyway, then Hellcat and Nighthawk arrive. They go to interfere. And we have it here and sort of going forward a little bit here, we have more and more examples of Nighthawk acting like an ass. Insisting that he's in charge and trying to control the Hulk when that's the stupidest thing you can do if you want to actually control the Hulk.
Right. Although, I don't know that he's acting like an ass. I mean, he comes off as an ass, but I think Kyle is genuinely trying to do his best as a leader. He's not a leader.
Right. Right. He's not a leader, but he's trying and he sucks at it. All right.
Right.
So you want to talk a little bit about the bit here with Valkyrie in the movie theater, seeing a double feature of Death Wish and The Man Who Fell to Earth?
Yeah, we cut back to the movie theater. Now, you can tell by the image on the screen that they're watching The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie. This is in the 70s when you could still smoke at the movie theater. You could still smoke on airplanes. You could still smoke on restaurants.
In the designated smoking section.
Yeah, you did it in the smoking section. Valkyrie and Dollar Bill and Ledge are sitting in the non-smoking section, and somebody behind them is smoking a pipe. Valkyrie smashes the pipe and is informed that this egregious person is actually the drama professor at the university where she is now enrolled. The three of them leave after the theater. They go to a donut shop. Dollar Bill is still being a sexist ass. He's still doing his best impression of a young Harvey Weinstein. And then the professor shows up. We find out that his name is Professor Turk, and he is actually impressed with Valkyrie standing up to him. They then talk a little bit about this mysterious character named Lunatic. All we learn is that Lunatic's eyes are glassy, kind of like the Silver Surfers. That's all we learn about him. And we're promised that there'll be more on the mystery of Lunatic next issue.
Now, Brian, I want to just ask you one question here.
Sure.
Do you think that, unless you'd never read a comic book before, Do you think it's possible to read that page and not know the professor is lunatic?
No.
Okay.
No. And in fact, I can give you proof of that. My 9-year-old, now I don't say his real name in public. On my podcast, he goes by the handle Dungeon Master 77.1. He's been reading through some of these Defenders issues. You know, he very much likes comics, but his modern day comics are more, you know, SpongeBob, The Simpsons, anything that All Yeah Comics produces. When it comes to superheroes, he likes the old school 70s stuff. And in his reading of Marvel Essential Defenders Volume 3, he says, well, this guy's lunatic, right?
Yeah. There you go. So, yeah, it's, and again, I mean, I have the same issue watching Formula Television. You know, you introduce a character, there's a specific plot point dropped. Sometimes it's the character's played by a recognizable actor, and you think, well, this person did it. I mean, you know, this is it. It's pretty obvious. So, anyway, folks, this guy is lunatic.
Yes.
We get back to discover that Hellcat and Nighthawk have finally intervened between Submariner and Hulk. Namor is attacking Nighthawk, and Nighthawk actually says, with blood on his mouth from getting his ass kicked by Namor, "Blast it, I'm not going to fight you. I'm a defender, and so are you." And here's my favorite part. Now, in comic book continuity, Namor can't possibly have been gone from the Defenders very long.
No. And in continuity, we should point out that since his departure from the Defenders, he's been starring every other month in a comic book called Supervillain Team Up, which was basically, it was a bi-monthly, and it was Namor versus Doctor Doom.
Which I loved.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. That's what we should cover next.
Well, it's certainly one of them. And the Shroud.
Yeah.
In any case, Namor says, yes, I remember now. It has been so long that given the turmoil of recent events, I had forgotten.
He forgot that he was a member of the Defenders.
He forgot the Defenders existed. And then he's like, well, I came looking for Reed Richards, but you guys will do. Come help me save my entire society from being irradiated.
You know what else I find interesting about this? This is his first time meeting Hellcat or Nighthawk. He only knows Valkyrie and Hulk, and Valkyrie's not here, so the only Defender he knows is Hulk. But he doesn't stop to ask, "Hey, where's Doctor Strange?"
Right? Yeah. Yeah. With a notable absence of the person who really is the heart and soul of the Defenders. Yeah, Namor doesn't notice that he's not there, apparently.
Right.
All right, in any case, the idea here is that because the Hulk is going to be unharmed by the radiation, that he can help. And even though Namor was a total douchebag and they just finished fighting it out, Hulk says, Hulk will do it. Hulk is sorry he hit Fishman. And that's the final bit of dialogue in issue 52 of The Defenders.
That's right.
We're going to wrap up there, Brian, so we can have these shorter episodes we're discussing just for a couple of episodes, folks. And next week, we will discuss Defenders 53, 54, and 55, which
is a saga called The Power Principle.
Yes, yeah, and which will bring all of these disparate threads together into one final battle.
That's right. That's right. All right. I want to remind folks that if you enjoy Defenders Dialogue, Chris and I have other podcasts you might enjoy. Chris with his co-host Jim Moore and Jonathan Mayberry hosts Three Guys with Beards. And I, along with my co-hosts Mary Sangiovanni and Dave Thomas, host The Horror Show with Brian Keene. Both of those shows are available wherever you're listening to Defenders Dialogue. I also want to give a shout out to our engineer Tom Clark. His podcast, The Necro Casticon, is also available wherever you're listening to Defenders Dialogue. That may be iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play Music. It's made available on all those platforms via the Project Entertainment Network. Until next week, Chris, is there anything you'd like to say?
Brian, make mine Marvel.
All right.
Actually, really what I want to say is make mine 70s Marvel. Excelsior.
See you next week, folks.
3 guys with beards.
The Project Entertainment Network store, featuring t-shirts, mugs, stickers, hoodies and more from your favorite Project Entertainment Network podcasts.
Ink Stain Scribbler's Rest.
The Horror Show with Brian Keane.
Why not show your loyalty by wearing a cool product from the podcast group and show off to your friends?
It Cooks.
Armcast.
The Mondo Method
Monster Attack.
Necrocastical.
Go to projectentertainmentnetwork.com and click on the store tab for more details.
The Liars Club podcast.
Piss On.
The Lunch Ladies Book Club.
Matters of Faith.
The Project Entertainment Network store, stacked with stuff from the best podcasts on the internet.
The Curtain Jerkers.
Buttercup of Doom.
www.projectentertainmentnetwork.com.
This has been an exclusive presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.